Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is 10:04 on May the 30th. Any disclosures of interest for general nature thereof? Seeing none, we're okay. Adoption of the agenda. I need a mover in a second around that. No? Okay. Approval of minutes, there are none. Previous. Are there any staff updates? Morgan, anybody? None? Okay, new business, service delivery options. Committee members correspondence, we had something from Mr. Hoyle, did we not?
Yep, we'll just turn it over to Scott and Morgan.
Okay, Scott or Morgan, one of you guys want to take over from here?
Sure, I'll jump in to start, and then
Yeah.
you can hear me okay? And then if the chief wants to jump in and add anything, or if I miss anything. We know that I think it's been circulated to the committee. Councillor Hoyle from Port Colborne has done some analysis on sort of what was presented to both councils in the form of a staff report, and what we suspect are the three primary options that are before the two municipalities, which is to totally maintain the status quo and Port Colborne to eventually replace their vacant management positions. Some kind of model where the two municipalities move forward. Am I okay still? Am I coming through?
You are on our end.
Okay. Some kind of model where the two municipalities share some kind of administrative services, but not fire suppression. And a third model where there's some total blending of the department that includes equipment and resources and suppression services, as well as administration. So the analysis is sort of a list of pros and cons. It identifies it's like a SWOT analysis, just done with a different acronym. And Councillor Hoyle did a bit of a deep dive on it. It's pretty good work here. Thank you, Councillor. And so I think staff intends to take this back and to bring more. We know there are other options that are available to the municipalities. There's a fourth option that Councillor Hoyle and the chief and I have discussed over email, which is some kind of combination of volunteers that sets aside full-time firefighters. The benefit of this being protection for the Wainfleet taxpayers from absorbing the cost of full-time firefighters. Of course, both municipalities, the CAOs and the treasurers who aren't on this call and the fire chief want to avoid unfair cost assignments in any of the options, but that's one option that separates full-time from volunteers. Other options may become apparent as we go through the next, I guess, 60 or 90-day exercise, or I don't know the exact number of days, 70 days. I'm not sure if the chief wants to add anything or if there's any questions for Councillor Hoyle about the document that was shared.
No, I don't really have anything to add. I guess what I was looking for from staff, from the committee is taking a look at these, if there's any additional pros, cons, challenges that the committee members can think of. Or for those that are watching, I know that we have some association representatives here. Certainly if there's anything that you can think of, send them to me. And then staff will take that back, and then that's what we will use to guide us in kind of gathering the information to answer those questions and coming up with, ultimately what would be the recommended course of action.
Right, I agree. So from here on out, I think staff's plan is to continue to work sort of to bring forward some product to future committee meetings. I know we're going to talk about our meeting schedule a little bit later in this meeting, but this is a great start. In addition to the work that we've already been doing of an environmental scan of departments in Ontario and beyond, as well as an internal scan of the resources that we have in both municipalities separately and the resources that we feel that we'll need moving forward. I'll take your attention to the very bottom of the page where Councillor Hoyle's also made reference to stakeholder input. We do, and I think this is in a different document, the terms of reference or the work plan. The chief and the Wainfleet CAO and I fully intend to bring in all three associations. That's two volunteer associations and the full-time association. We think there's others. We think that there's the Association of Fire Chiefs, there's the Fire Marshal's Office, there's the Niagara Region Fire Coordinators. There's even hopefully a way that we can include public comment, whether it's through the council members to the committee or any kind of external sort of work. We do caution that, you know, sometimes the public is more guided by passion and emotion than an understanding of operations. So we do want to make sure that that's tempered with a little bit of analysis that will go along with what comes before the committee. But on that basis, Mr. Chair, if there's no more questions about that, I can move. Well, I sort of covered stakeholder engagement there. We can speak about stakeholder engagement, or we can move towards work plan. It would be at the committee's pleasure.
I would say we could go to work plan. I think like you said, we've covered stakeholder engagement and we've all read Councilor Hoyle's comments and questions, and I think we should just get going on a work plan.
Right. Okay, I appreciate that. And again, I know it wasn't a lot of time we spent on stakeholder engagement, but stakeholder engagement is going to be a key moving forward. I think if there's general alignment among all the stakeholders, it sets both municipalities up for success, no matter what option is recommended to both councils. So on the work plan, the document was distributed today. I think it's 4 pages long, and which each page representing a different phase of what we expect the time from our council approval through the 120 days that that was the working group sort of period that was assigned. And again, I'll ask the chief to jump in if he has anything to add, or if I don't highlight something that he would like to have highlighted. Of course, we started with defining the mandate and coming up with the terms of reference. That was done through some staff work that was brought to both councils independently, as well as a shared meeting of the Wainfleet and Port Colborne councils together, which I think produced sort of a mandate to move forward. And so at the top of the page here, you'll see in the grayed out box that staff view this as completed as of the end of April. So we answered those questions or met those expectations of establishing the needs and priorities, early options, measures for evaluating, because that's going to be a very important, is how success is measured. Stakeholder engagement, which we already spoke about a little bit today, and then the reporting structure and expected schedule of events for the working group. Moving forward to the second page of the work plan, our chief, can I move forward from the first page? Second page is phase 2. And really, I love the words here, getting to know the organizations and assessing the situation, because you have to know what you're talking about before you start talking about it, is the easiest way of putting that. And that includes a policy, or sort of, not a policy scan, I was going to say a scan of the existing state. So we know that we're going to be working towards some future state, which could be the status quo or some kind of modified structure. But I think we need to know where we're starting from and what resources currently exist. We also need to know what doesn't exist. There's, you know, obviously suppression is a very big component of fire, but there are sort of side components, like every community in Ontario has to do a risk assessment. There's new NFPA standards coming online in the future that our firefighters in both municipalities will have to be trained to. Emergency management is a big function of emergency services, and that's basically disaster planning and training to make sure we're ready for anything that could happen, like a winter event or an accident. Community profiles, we know we have everything from, you know, vacant land with grass, hay bales, everything to houses, to agricultural operations, to industrial and commercial operations, to gathering places where people gather. So the current state is very important because that's going to help us to plan the resources that are required, whether it's 2 independent municipalities, or if you take out the dividing line between the two, 1 geographic area with the combined population of both municipalities. So that takes us to the key tasks, which are the organizational structures, stakeholder engagement, and then a financial impact study. You know, in some of the council discussions, at least the ones that I was present for in Port Colborne, there was some attention, you know, and on sort of on the one hand, we said, is this about saving money? Is this about a financial gain? But on the other hand, we sort of know that we can't increase cost. It's not very feasible to put more weight on our taxpayers. So there's going to have to be a financial analysis of all three options. And I think that's one factor that will contribute into the ultimate decision that both councils make. And then the key initiatives and processes, defining some goals and with achievable targets for the short term. Again, gathering data and reviewing the existing processes to gain understanding. I already talked a little bit about that. And continuing to come back to this committee at the meetings that we've already planned. Chief, any comments on phase two?
No, I think based on the work plan and the discussion topics, I think really what I think staff need to hear back from the committee membership as kind of setting out our action items is, I mean, as staff, I can provide the committee the report on the organizational structure and the levels of service. Those are all items that are posted and you know, through bylaw. We already have the four options that are kind of being considered if there's any others. As for stakeholder engagement, I think what I'd like the committee, right now I've got the various firefighter association representatives, senior management and council. Is there any other stakeholders that I'm missing or that we should add to that list?
Thanks, Chief. And I mean, it doesn't have to be you put your hand up and say now. You can send an email to the chief or to either of the CAOs if you think of someone who would have a stake in this. You know, just off the top of my head, because I mean, maybe it's not likely, but in the future we might have to engage dispatch, EMS, police, just because there's a relationship in the emergency services, even if it's not operational or internal to our operations. Those are our partners in Niagara. So definitely feel free to come forward with those. So phase three is the data review and development of a recommendation for both councils. And again, phase two is sort of the environmental scan and gathering the data. Phase three is where we review the data and it helps to inform what's going to be a recommendation to council. And I know ethically, my job, and I'm sure the Wainfleet CAO feels the same, is to bring forward our best professional advice to our own councils. So we're going to bring a staff report with a recommendation that's going to have the best interest of the residents of Port Colborne, you know, the businesses of Port Colborne, the financial impacts on the municipality, and likewise in Wainfleet. So you're going to get a good recommendation from staff without bias, but through the data scan, we're going to come to this stage where we develop, and this isn't done yet. There's no preconceived notions, nothing's been decided. Right now, in the past state, or I could say current state, even though they're vacant, there is a chief and a deputy chief in Port Colborne, a chief and a deputy chief in Wainfleet. Of course, fast forward to today, and two of those positions are vacant, and we're sharing one chief and one deputy chief, two full-time equivalents. The future state, the recommendation that's before council could be, if the second option is the recommended option, and there's no knowing that it will be, some different number of full-time equivalents or the same number of full-time equivalents, but with a different structure. For example, something that does addresses training, something that addresses emergency management, something that provides more deputies. There's no telling, or there's no preconceived notion, I guess. A financial evaluation of all of the budget models, like I mentioned in the previous stage, if there's a partnership to be had, how is that prorated? Is it on a per capita basis? Is it on a percentage basis between municipalities? Is it based on some assessment? I guess you can sometimes take one municipality's assessment and another's and use it to create percentages. So there will be options for council. And of course, all of these will come to the committee. Hopefully the committee will, our vision, staff's vision is the committee agrees on what's going to go forward to the 9 Port Colborne councillors and the 5 Wainfleet councillors. So at this time, the key initiatives are finance, working on the funding plans. We're gonna lock those treasurers in a room and have them come up with, crunch the numbers as they're usually doing. If we're getting to the point of a draft agreement, there would be a legal review from both municipalities on the terms of the agreement. There are cases in Ontario, templates that we can work from past. We know where there's successes and where there's room for improvement. And then again, and I mentioned this on phase 2, engaging outside experts that might exist, like the fire marshal's office and other agencies around Ontario. Chief, any comments on phase 3? Okay, so moving forward to phase 4. Phase forward is the implementation of council direction. This is the completion of the committee. The committee will basically wrap up and council will choose the recommended option. Excuse me, my phone is ringing and I get rid of it. And then staff will be directed to implement some kind of solution. And again, not to restate myself, but that could be anything from Port Colborne doing a full recruitment to implementing some kind of shared service model. In the event of a shared service model, I think our staff vision is for a shared services committee. So this is like the decision committee. Eventually, there will be an oversight committee of shared services. And I would recommend that, and I think the other staff on the call would, in any event where there's shared services. If we were sharing a bylaw department, I would suggest that there'd be a shared service committee. If we were sharing, I can't think of drainage department, we would have a shared service committee. And it's just a layer of reporting. It's almost like the region has a police board that's subordinate to the regional council. Not exactly, or airport commission, for example, Mr. McClellan would know, Councilor McClellan would know about that model. So a way that there's a oversight committee, if that makes sense. Chief, phase 4? Good with that? So Chair McClellan, if there's any questions on any of the work plan, the chief or I would be prepared to answer them.
No, it's, looking at it, it's a pretty tall task, but I think he can get it done. We can get it done. The biggest thing is, what are the action items for between now and the next meeting? What do we need to get done?
I appreciate that question. I think that the chief and CAO Wainfleet and I met earlier this week. We had a little bit of discussion. Do you want to run down some of the things that we talked about, Chief?
Yeah, for sure. Just make sure I'm not muted. So I think to start, any of the questions or considerations that came out of the discussion document, staff will have to go back through, investigate and come and find out what the answers are to those questions. What are possible solutions? There's challenges and uncertainties. Validating those. If there's answers to any of those, we'll report back to the committee. I think at the same time, from a stakeholder engagement piece, you'll see in phase 2, I had 2 questions there, and I'm going to look for direction from the committee as to how they want stakeholder engagement. Does the committee prefer to have the representatives come to the committee directly? Is there a list of questions that the committee representatives want us to ask? Is a survey acceptable to be sent out to the different stakeholders? That's going to kind of guide staff on which way the committee wants staff to proceed, whether it be a survey or one-on-one meetings or inviting the members to the committee themselves.
I like the idea of a survey because I think you can get it out,
Okay.
have a date to get it back to you, right? If you try and set up a meeting, there's always somebody that's not going to make it. If you write up a survey, I think it's something you can say, okay, have it back to us in 10 days or 7 days, and right, you've got a deadline to get it in and out, right?
Okay, I can work on a draft survey. Does the committee want to review the survey prior to issuance, or is it okay if the CAOs approve it?
I don't know. You got my opinion. I trust our CAOs, so.
I would go with the survey too, because it maximizes the amount of people. I would like to see it before it goes out, but I'll let that be the judgment of the CEOs on that one.
Yeah, I mean, just from staff's perspective here, I don't object to the committee seeing it. I don't know, I'd look towards our clerks here. I don't know if we can vote over email on whether to approve or not approve the survey, so it might just be provide your feedback and we'll pick up what we can. Chief, I will offer you the services of our comms department here. I'm sure you're 100% capable, but these guys are pretty slick and they can help you to get the survey like really fine-tuned.
Okay,
And then you can distribute it, get it back to you to distribute it. I'll connect you by email today.
okay, thank you. So what I will do then is I will create the draft survey, and I will take them from the questions that was provided in the discussion guide for the different options. And again, I'll once we have a draft put together, I'll make sure that I send it out to the committee for quick review. If there's any comments or any revisions, I'll make them, and then I'll work with comms to get that survey out. And then as soon as we get it out, I will leave, I think our next meeting, I know it's on the agenda later down, but I think it's in June at some point. What I would hope, I think it's 3 weeks from now, what I would like to see is possibly have the results of that survey. I can present it to the next committee meeting. It's 3 weeks, it's tight, but I don't see it impossible. Is the committee okay with that plan? Okay.
Yeah, Chief, it's a little less than 3 weeks, but it's 2.5 really. But
Okay.
if you think you can get it done, I think that works for us, right? So.
Okay.
Anybody else got opinions on that, or?
I'm good with it, as long as we get it done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'll take you back to the agenda. That's basically work plan, and we talked about action items a little bit. Chair, I know this is gonna be a shorter meeting than we booked for, but you're gonna have a lot more material on you for these next 3 meetings as we start to gather, as the real work gets done and we sort of gather steam and bring more and more back to the committee. But is there any more, I guess you're the chair. I'm not sure if
Yeah,
there's any
no,
more
I'm,
questions on.
I just wondering, are there any more action items than that we could be working on in the meantime?
Chief? Or sorry, I'm not
Yes.
gonna answer.
So-
Yeah.
Yeah, no, if you don't mind. So yeah, what I can do in addition to the survey, like I said, staff will take the discussion and the questions, and we'll start to put together kind of that data review. I'll bring back to the committee, the organizational structures, the levels of service, kind of how each department is set up now, so that the committee has a better understanding already of kind of the current situation. And then we'll also take a look at the different pros and cons and like I said, the questions, considerations. And we will try to get as much information and kind of fill this out, kind of add a bottom column to each of those, or a bottom row that kind of here's the answers to those questions and considerations. So that'll kind of fill out, and then if there's any discussion that comes out of that, in addition to the results of the survey and the organizational structures, I think that'll kind of guide the discussion at the next meeting, as to how the committee kind of wants to guide staff and direct us.
Yeah, I'm okay with that then. Okay, if that's it, then the next meeting we have set is June 17th. There's no time yet. There's one in July 8th, that'll be in Wainfleet, and July 22nd is back in Port Colborne. Be nice to get some times in on these sooner than later so people can schedule it summertime. Right? But if we can get that done in the next week or 10 days, that would be nice. And then other than that, the meeting's adjourned unless anybody's got anything else to.
Nothing from Port Colborne.
Nothing, okay, I don't see anything. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for being here. I know this one was short and sweet, but I don't think the rest will be, so enjoy your afternoon. Okay, Yep, bye-bye.